Guys, how are you? So we're back to you tonight. Myself and Natalie, we're doing a video. It's back to one of our more serious videos, so there's no messing or laughing. There's nothing funny about this video at all. It's a very serious case, and it demands all our viewers' respect and attention, because maybe you could be able to help with this. It goes all the way back to 1986. A young boy went missing, 13 years of age. Anyone in Ireland over 40 years of age would be familiar with his name. His name, Philip Cairns. So we're starting here in this laneway. This is a laneway that's between Devlin Park and Devlin Drive. This is where his school satchel was found 6 days after he went missing. And as the crow flies, we're talking about 400 metres to his actual house. So what we're going to do, we're going to get in the car and we're going to bring you for a drive that his parents took that night when they realised he'd gone missing, following the route back to Coláiste, the school that he had transitioned from primary school into secondary school just a few weeks before that, because we're coming up to the first midterm. It would have been the Halloween midterm for his first midterm in first year in secondary school. A big change for a young kid in their life. So let's get in the car and we'll go for a drive. So guys, we're back in the car now, and that way, as I point with my thumb, is where we've come from. So we're this is between Devlin Park and Devlin Road. We are now, this road here, we're coming off the Ballybone Road, which is where Philip was living. So we're doing the route now back to school. So basically Philip went home for his lunch Thursday afternoon. Probably, I'd imagine the next day at 12 o'clock he was probably going to be off home for his midterm break for Halloween. A fantastic time if you can cast your mind back. Now I think of Philip a lot because he's of my vintage, and I'd be maybe a year older than him, but I know like the type of stuff that he would have been up to at that age. I was into fishing as well, I still am, and you can just imagine, like, I mean, I was looking at the photographs of him last night. We printed up some photographs of him last night, and unlike me, he seemed like a really, really good kid, and you can just tell it in his eyes. Even you noticed that, Nick, didn't you? You just know
his big brown eyes.
Yeah,
he just looked like the kindest little chap ever.
Yeah, you know what? I found it very, very sad looking at it last night, and you know, I'd love this to be put to bed for the family. You know, his mum Alice, she still lights a candle every single night for him. The family want this resolved. You know, younger brother, older sisters. This is Coláiste now as we're heading in here. So you can see it's, you know, I would say, you know, they say a 15-minute walk. I wouldn't say it's even a 10-minute walk. And, you know, he came home for lunch that day. Mum was taking one of the sisters to the dental hospital. Philip Senior was at work, and he had his bit of lunch. I could imagine back in the day, and anyone that's in or around my age will remember, rush home from school, watch a bit of Neighbours or something like that. In my case, probably try and do the homework that you haven't done, that you should have done, and scoot back to school. So he shouted to the grandma, "See you later," and of course later never happened, and that's why we're here tonight. That's why we're hoping you can help us while we're here tonight. So we're coming into the entrance here of Coláiste. Time of year, there could be something going on here, you never know, but sure, look, we'll just get out and have a little look around. So guys, we just hopped out of the car. This is it, Coláiste. As I said, he had just really come into the school. He just made the transition from primary school to secondary school. He was getting on great. A really, really good kid, as we know. Had a great interest in fishing, and the family were entirely very religious as well. So we're going to get back into the car, and we're going to discuss some of our thoughts and ideas on this, because we have plenty of those, don't we, Natalie?
Well, you do.
Yeah, okay. So let's get back into the car, guys. Okay, guys, so we're back in the car now, and we're going driving. So let's all go for a bit of a spin together and have a chat about this. Yeah, so that was the school. You can see it's very, very close to where he lived. And you know what? I've thought a lot about this case. Myself and Natalie have discussed a lot about this case. I've discussed it with other friends, and it's always been a hot topic because nobody's any the wiser. And the only little bit of evidence that we have for this case is that old, satchel, the army satchels. Yet again, I'm getting back and displaying my age and vintage. But if you're of my vintage, you probably went into Army Bargains on Capel Street and bought one of these bags. His was a grey blue type one. Remember, they came in a grey blue type. Mine was an olive drab. That's what I preferred. But the thing is, what we have to remember about this is that bag, okay? And there's two girls found that bag, 18-year-old girls. And the girls that found that bag, Catherine and Orlo Carroll, Catherine Hassett and Orlo Carroll, they'd been up and down that laneway numerous times that day, and they hadn't seen it, and they seen it later on in the evening. Now, the thing is, bear with me for a second, I'll just try and drive. But the thing is, and this is what's really, really important, the last few days had been very, very wet, but the bag was bone dry when it was discovered. Now, the guards said that they had actually searched that area, and so the bag was recovered anyhow. Now, it was recovered without a couple of items. There was a couple of religion books that weren't included in it, and a geography book. Now, does that have relevance? I really don't know. Does it have relevance? Did he leave those books in the school? Were they at home? Or I don't know. I really, really don't know, and it would be very, very hard to guess with that one. But what I do believe is highly, highly relevant, and I've always had a claim about this, is the bag was found a matter of hours after 18 detectives brought the entire school back to assist in the investigation of this case. Don't forget, we were on midterm, and they were brought back 6 days later. This was a Wednesday, and everybody that was attached to that school was brought back, and they were asked to assist the Gardaí in this case. And I just find that it's very, very peculiar and beyond coincidence that bag was discovered a few hours after that happened. What do you think, Natalie? Would you agree with that?
Well, yeah, especially like the way they were all questioned.
Yeah.
It had been rain, and hadn't it 2 days solid?
2 solid days of rain, and that bag was bone dry. Now, I still have a couple of those bags. I still use some of them for fishing, and I still use some of them, for as a haversack or whatever, when I'm out on the motorbike. But the thing about it is, these bags, and you had one yourself, Natalie, I've no doubt.
Oh, of course, yeah.
These bags, when they became wet, they stayed wet, right? They weren't the type of bags that dried out in half an hour, and they kind of went from a bag that weighed maybe 2 or 3 pounds in weight to a bag that could have been 2 stone in weight, because they really took up the moisture and water. They were canvas, and they were thick, and they were effectively a mop with a strap on it. So when they got wet, they became very, very heavy. So in my thinking, being very familiar with this style of bag, there was no way that bag had been lying in that laneway for the last 2 or 3 days. Would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So would you think that I would be jumping to conclusions to kind of arrive at the thinking that it probably had something to do with everybody being pulled back into that school that day? Now, me, I'm one to hypothesize, and I definitely have opinions about almost anything. But this is my opinion on this entire case. Philip was a really good kid, right? We know that. He was a really, really good kid. And there's one thing, I wasn't a really good kid, right? But there's one thing that I did notice about really, really good kids. They had great respect for authority, and they had great respect for elders. Now, whether you're a good kid or you're not a good kid, it is very, very difficult to bundle a 13-year-old male and put him into a car that he doesn't want to get into, okay? And I believe, and I really do believe this, that he got into that car of his entire own volition. Okay, so what does that mean? We know that he didn't have a vast array of social activities. Okay, we know that he was into fishing, the family was highly religious, and he attended prayer meetings and stuff like that. Now, there's a particular individual that was in a prayer meeting and a fishing club with him, right? And funnily enough, that particular individual also shared a prayer meeting that Eva Brennan was in, and who went missing, and shared a membership of a prayer meeting that Claire Boylan, who also went missing. And I think it's at the very, very least interesting.
Yeah, because they totally vanished.
Yeah, they totally vanished. The three of them totally vanished. And the only commonalities between the three of them is this prayer meeting, okay? So there is a commonality between the three people who went missing. However, there's another commonality between Philip and this individual. He was also in the same angling club, okay? So if we look at Philip's lifestyle, really and truly, for him to get into a car of his own volition and readily get into that car and be driven away, so he wasn't abducted, he got into a car with someone I believe that he trusted. So who could he potentially trust? Well, it would have to be, in my thinking, now I could be wrong, and if you think I'm wrong, Natalie, you say so, but in my thinking, because he was a good kid, he automatically respected his elders, okay? So it could have been someone that worked in the school that he knew. It could have been an adult that was in a fishing club. It could have been someone that had an association with the church. And outside of that, I can't really think of where we could pluck someone that was in his social sphere. And if you're not within Philip's social sphere, he's not going to readily make himself available to get into the car. And that's what I think about that. Now, we're driving at the moment. We've left Ballyrone, and myself and Natalie are driving towards, can you guess, the Hellfire Club. Because in the midst of all my theories, there are other theories too. One of the theories was this satanic panic, and insofar as it was possibly believed that he could have been abducted by a cult. Now, I don't believe that myself, okay? But we have to look at all angles. But the Gardaí consider this sufficiently concerning enough that they put an armed task force up here on the top of this hill one night, on a night that they were anticipating that something could be going to happen. Now, whatever was going to happen didn't happen, but I do find it incredibly interesting. And we're almost at the Hellfire. The purpose of the journey tonight, driving to the Hellfire, is to show to you the, quite close proximity that Ballyrone Road was and is to the Hellfire Club. So it's you can understand how it could have been plausible, So yeah, that's my thinking on it. Now we're going to drive up here a little bit. When we get to the Hellfire Club, we'll give you a look there. But like literally, I suppose as the crow flies, or even as the car drives, we're about 2 minutes away now at this point in time. In actual fact, we might keep you on the video rolling to let you see how close it actually is. Did I cover everything, Natalie, or what have I missed out on anything?
Let me think. Well, the Cookie Monster.
Okay, yeah, I was overlooking him. So the Cookie Monster, Cook, the DJ, and a vile character, to be fair, and a committed and convicted paedophile. But what was he known to Philip? I don't think so.
Somebody said that this woman came forward and said, because she used to work with girls and whatever, and that had been abused or something like that, and raped. She said that this girl came forward and told her that she had been given the bag by Cook to throw over a wall into the laneway.
Yeah.
You know, so it's one of those stories.
Is it a story? Is it a fable? You know, there was another report that Philip was seeing in Cook's office as well. I don't know. Like, this is what I would say about Cook. Do I think he could have been capable of doing such a thing? Absolutely. The man was heinous, he was vile, and he was a serial abuser.
And also, didn't he have a container buried?
Yeah, so in Stepaside he had a container, underground container. Now, I don't know what he was using that for, or what the purpose of that was. We don't really know that, and I don't want to jump to any conclusions. But, and look, he was a violent man too, and he was quite intimidating. But, you know, being violent and intimidating doesn't make him a child murderer, and even being a sex offender doesn't make him a child abuser or a child killer. This is the Hellfire Club in here on the left hand side, so you can see it's relatively close, you know, but nothing happened that night anyhow. But look, we're you know, I have my own opinions and everybody has their opinions, but we're trying to cover as many potentialities as possible, and maybe somebody could help draw some sort of or throw a little bit of light on this matter. But anyhow, what was I saying about Cook? Yeah, so we know he had the bunker in Stepaside. We know he was a man that quite often would intimidate people. We do know that. In actual fact, Bray, where I'm from, and now Bray has happily adopted Natalie as being from there as well.
Still a blow in though.
Cookie, the Cookie Monster, became involved in a shootout with the Gardaí at Hill's Garage, believe it or not, in Hollybrook. You know, so this is the type of individual he was, and he came from quite a Republican family as well, to my understanding, and he used that to his advantage, as in intimidatory advantage at that. But you know, he was waiting for sentencing for an act of intimidation and arson at the point in time when Philip Cairns went missing. Now, you'd have to ask yourself, is that a point in time where you would behave in such a manner? And then, of course, the flip side is some people would say, well, if they thought he was going to jail, maybe that's exactly the time that he would do it. But me personally, I don't think so. And I don't think that Philip would have gotten into a car with someone that he didn't know. And I personally feel that's what disqualifies him. Of course, then we've got the jilted lover, the blah blah blah, where the woman contacted Gardaí in 2007, and we believe the same woman contacted the Gardaí again in 2009, stating that her lover admitted to her that he had murdered Philip and that he was buried in the Grange Golf Club. Now, the Gardaí took this quite seriously, of course, and they went into the Grange Golf Club and they brought in radar scanning material for the ground, and they could determine that the ground had in fact actually been disturbed, but there was no skeletal remains found, so that was put to bed. I can't think of many more angles that we can go for with this one, really, you know, and my thinking on it, and it would be very, very hard to shake me from this thinking, is that he got into a car and he was quite happy to get into that car, so it was someone that he trusted, and anything short of that doesn't make sense to me, and it's just, you know, a really, really sad unsolved case. I must point out too that the DNA, Cook's DNA, was tested against the DNA that was on the satchel, and there was no match between that and the DNA that Cook gave. So that doesn't necessarily disqualify him, because there are blended cells of DNA in that satchel at this stage. And we also must remember it's been knocking around, probably not kept in a forensically secure bag, just knocking around a cupboard in Rathfarnham Garda station. So how valid that is, I don't know. I'm not a scientist. Yeah, you want to say something, Mike?
Yeah, just pull in for 1 sec. Yeah, so Shane, you were saying earlier, you were telling me about this gardener.
Yeah, so the gardener, I believe, relates back to that individual that I spoke about that was in the prayer groups and also in the fishing club, the angling club. So the gardener was came in and he was working for this individual, and it's in the Rathfarnham area as well. And the gardener was told under no circumstances to dig in a particular place, and he thought this was a bit bizarre, you know. So he did eventually come forward with this information. What was done with it, well, your guess is as good as mine, but you know, there you have it. There's no more information available out there. Like, I mean, I know there was a lot of discussion about religious cults and blah blah blah, but we have to bear in mind, okay, that this was in the mid 80s, and the mid 80s was notorious for all across Europe and America about, you know, cults and satanic cults and blah blah blah. It was also at the time, you know, when Judas Priest and other heavy metal bands were getting damned for certain messages that could be heard by spinning their record in reverse. It was a very, very strange time, and a very, very cults were the thing of the time as well. So we must bear that in mind. We also must bear in mind that at the time when Philip went missing, there was no availability of DNA. DNA is a very, very new thing. It did actually become available and was developed the year slightly after Philip went missing. The first case ever then was in 1987 in the UK. The DNA was used to successfully get a conviction. And of course there was a case here. The first case here was in 1988, a rape case stemming from Talib, where DNA was used to secure the conviction on that. But other than that, you know, this all predates mobile phones, www and all of that kind of stuff. So it was pretty much how detective work would have been done for the previous 100 years. We had fingerprints, and that was about it. That really was about it. So there you have it, guys. I can tell you no more than that. I know that Philip Senior, he died on the 6th of July 2014, I think, and that poor man went to his grave, and he had no answers. And I think the family deserve answers. I really do. And please God, they'll get them. So guys, if you have any information, don't come to us with the information, go directly to the Gardaí. But if you have anything positive to say about this little video, and if you think you may be able to help, because that's what this is fundamentally about, please do so in the comments below. If you're coming here to troll, we prefer that you just moved on and did it somewhere else, because this is important. We're talking about a child that went missing, and we'll include some of the photographs that we have of him, you know, but we're talking about a child. And you know, although he should be 51 now, he never got the privilege to age. So guys, we'll talk to you soon. Take care.